Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Paula. On this channel, we don't rush, we don't chase 5-minute candles, and we don't pretend crypto exists in isolation. We zoom out, we look at power, policy, incentives, and pressure points, because over time, that's what actually moves markets. And today, something quietly important is happening. Right now, the World Economic Forum is taking place in Davos, Switzerland. And one of the people speaking there this year is Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple. This isn't a headline moment, it's not hype, and it's not about price action this week. It's about who is now being included in conversations about the future of the global financial system and what that tells us about where crypto actually sits in the world today. Davos is often misunderstood. People see clips, panels, headlines, and assume it's a conference designed to persuade or announce things. It isn't. Davos exists to align. It's where heads of state, finance ministers, central bankers, regulators, and the CEOs of systematically important companies gather in one place, not to make public declarations, but to leave broadly aligned on risk, direction, and priorities. Markets don't react to what's said on stage in Davos. They react months later when aligned narratives quietly turn into policy, regulation, and capital movement. That's why Davos matters. In the same rooms as Brad Garlinghouse this week are central bankers like Christine Lagarde from the European Central Bank, senior figures from the IMF and the World Bank, EU leadership including Ursula von der Leyen, finance ministers from the US, the UK, Europe, and emerging markets, and the CEOs from firms like BlackRock, JP Morgan, and global payment networks. That context matters because Davos is not about innovation for innovation's sake. It's about stability, continuity, control. So when a crypto native company is present in these rooms, it tells you something fundamental has shifted. Crypto is no longer being treated as an external risk that needs containing. It's being treated as part of a system that now needs shaping. Brad Garlinghouse isn't there as a crypto evangelist. He's not there to sell XRP to anyone. He's there as the CEO of Ripple, a company that operates directly at the intersection of cross-border payments, liquidity, regulation, and compliance. And that positioning didn't happen by accident. Ripple spent years doing what much of crypto didn't want to do, working with regulators instead of fighting them, building alongside banks instead of trying to replace them, focusing on settlement, liquidity, and infrastructure rather than narratives and speculation. That approach wasn't exciting during the hype years, but it's exactly what matters in the environment we're in now. Because zoom out for a moment, the global backdrop today is defined by rising geopolitical tension, renewed tariff threats between major trading blocs, sanctions being used as economic weapons, and a steady erosion of trust between financial systems. When that happens, the first pressure point isn't stock markets or crypto prices, it's payments. The global financial system still relies heavily on slow correspondent banking, delayed settlement, and legacy messaging infrastructure. That works when trust is high and cooperation is assumed. It works far less well when trade fragmentations and access to payment rails become strategic. That's why stablecoins are now being discussed at policy level. That's why cross-border settlement speed matters again. And that's why companies that can move value efficiently, compliantly, and at scale are relevant in rooms like Davos. Ripple isn't trying to replace money, it's trying to move it better. In a world where settlement delays create risk, compliance is non-negotiable, and access to payment infrastructure is geopolitical leverage. Companies that provide neutral, efficient rails become strategically important. That's why Ripple keeps appearing in central bank discussions, stablecoin frameworks, and cross-border settlement pilots. Not as a speculative crypto project, but as part of the financial plumbing. And that's why there's no big announcement coming out of Davos. Davos doesn't work like that. It doesn't produce a press release that says, here's the plan. It produces alignment, boundaries, direction. By the time something is formally announced, the conversations have already happened. The participants are already aligned. The direction is already set. So when Brad Garlinghouse speaks at Davos, the signal isn't what he says on stage. The signal is that Ripple is considered credible, that crypto payments are now policy-level topics, and that integration is being discussed quietly, not debated publicly. This is also why price often feels disconnected from reality in moments like this. Infrastructure doesn't reprice overnight. Regulatory alignment doesn't show up immediately on a chart. Back-end integration doesn't excite traders in the moment. But those are the things that quietly define entire cycles. This is the phase where crypto feels boring to many people, and historically, that's exactly when the groundwork is being laid for the next structural shift. And I think it's important to say this, because a lot of retail traders feel alone in markets like this. They're watching price drift, narratives change, and headlines contradict each other, without anyone explaining how it all connects. That's exactly the reason why we set up the Crypto Wolfpack. It's a community for normal people, not institutions, not insiders, just people who want to understand what's really going on. We talk through macro events like this, how geopolitics feeds into crypto, how liquidity moves, how to read charts properly, and how to stay disciplined when markets get emotional. And if you want to know the exact strategies we use to make money in both the bull market and the bear market, we've made a completely free course for you. The link is in the description below. It's designed to help you think clearly, manage risk, and stop reacting emotionally to short-term noise, especially in phases like the one we're in now, because preparation matters more than prediction. That includes having a plan, understanding where you are in the cycle, and understanding where your assets live. That's why I personally use Tangent for self-custody. It's simple, secure, there's no seed phrase to manage, and it's built for real-world use, not just crypto insiders. I've negotiated a discount specifically for this community, so you can use my code Paula for an extra 10% off any existing offers on the website. So no, Brad Garlinghouse speaking at Davos isn't hype, it's a signal. It tells you crypto has moved from being questioned to being shaped. And that is a very different phase of adoption. If this video helped you see the bigger picture, make sure you like it, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what you think this means for the future of crypto. Is this integration strengthening the system or changing what crypto was originally meant to be? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.